Why do electricians, plumbers, and HVAC people, why do they all hate each other? All right, so we don't all hate each other. Let's first just clear the air on that. The comment section will probably prove otherwise. There's a real sort of battle for space that happens on job sites. And a lot of it's just piss poor planning on the part of the GC, the general contractor, person in charge of the whole job, right? They're supposed to schedule certain people being in there at certain times to make sure everybody's just not climbing all over each other, on top of each other. Essentially, when a place gets framed, I mean, then you're going to start having contractors, either your plumbers or your electricians or your HVAC people in there. It depends on the situation, depends on the builder as to who gets to go in there first. Electricians tend to have way more work than any other trade for way longer. Like a plumber might come into a place and run some pipes, chip up the ground, get some drainage in. But they're really running like a few things. When I say a few, it's still a lot of work. It's just nowhere near as many things as we run. So like they might be able to come in and come out, be in and out in like a couple of days, done with the whole job. They don't have to come back until it's time to put the toilets and the tubs and stuff in. Then they might be back for a few days doing that kind of stuff. So, and I say that, again, depends on the size of the house. You could be talking like a 20,000 square foot mansion. Okay, it's going to take a little bit longer. It's going to be more intricate. I'm not trying to like crap on plumbers here. No pun intended. Pun absolutely intended. An electrician's going to be there from the time it's done framed, and usually the shell around the building is done. We start wiring. We start drilling out, marking out where all of our boxes go. We've got like 12, 15, 30, 50 boxes per room in this house. We got smoke detectors in the ceiling. We got ceiling fans. We got recessed cans to nail up. We got to lay all of that out too and make sure that it works. Most of the time it doesn't work with the framing. So we have all this time that we have to spend putting all this stuff in. And that's not even talking about the walls. Then we got to start nailing up boxes, wiring receptacles and switches, and running all of our home runs back to panels. We might have multiple different panels. We might have whole lighting control systems. So we're talking about spending months in a job during the phase of its wiring. And then where it took months versus the plumber's days, maybe a week, then we move to the trim out phase at the end of it when we start going in to put in things. So again, a plumber is going to have a few things they got to put in. There's going to be toilets, tubs. You might have to do some stuff with like the hose bibs outside. They've got sinks, there's a lot to do. So there's a decent amount to do, but it's putting specific fixtures in place, filling things with water, testing it. Well, usually they do that on the wiring phase. They pre-pressurize everything to test it all, but then they have to actually hook it up to utility and all of that stuff. It's just chunks of work compared to how long the electrical contractors are there. Now, all of that is not to say electricians are better or anything like that. It's to say the reasons as to why an electrician might be in there first is because of the sheer crazy amount of stuff that we have to do from beginning to end. Our trim out phase too. We have to put every receptacle, every single switch in the entire place. We have to put all of the breakers in every single one of our panels, tons of them. If we have a lighting control system, we have to put all the RPMs, processor, everything in. We have to get all of our dimming, all of our keypads, everything programmed. We have to write a whole program for a house. You know what I mean? Some people do AV home theater systems too. So we're talking about putting speakers in, all kinds of crazy stuff that we have to do. And then there's hanging all the ceiling fans and assembling them and hanging all the chandeliers. And some of these houses we work in, it's like $20,000, $30,000 chandeliers that you got to put up on several tiers of scaffold and hang a piece at a time because it's 400 pounds. There's just so much for us to do. And then once we energize the house, we have to go around and make sure everything works. And there's always these big houses, there's always something that doesn't work. There's always some kind of problem somewhere, something. So it's just a long, lengthy, crazy process. The nature of electrical stuff is that it can change pretty easily. You can't really change the location of a toilet, right? You can, but the likelihood of that happening often is not that much. With custom homes, lighting, aesthetic things, wiring things, putting switches and plugs, hey, I want to add this next to my pillow, and that stuff happens like crazy. So as we are wiring a place, we can't even just stick to the plan. There's so many changes that happen, and we have to bill for all of the changes and keep track of them all. But there's just so many changes within a custom home that, again, it just adds more time. And then when you're doing trim out, they're gonna be like, oh, well, I don't like where those cans are. It's like, well, you've seen them for months. Here, they even put drywall up before they painted. You've seen them where they're all going to go. And now that it's all done and painted and textured and everything, now you want to change. So anyways, that stuff happens. HVAC, very, very similar to plumbing. You got an air conditioner, you got a furnace. You got some duct work that goes in between them. You got a thermostat wire you got to run down. That's essentially it. Now again, I'm not an HVAC guy, never have been, but I know a few and I've worked around them for decades. What they spend the majority of their time doing is ductwork. They spend so much time bringing all these plenums, custom cutting everything, running ducts out, putting all that crappy pookie that they get on everybody else's ladders that they're using on a job site. But like once they're done with that, they're bounce. Like they don't have anything else other than ductwork that goes in. And then on the trim out phase, well, they got to get their furnace up in an attic or, little things like that. Maybe run a thermostat wire out somewhere. But then on the trim out phase, they bring the air compressor in. Sometimes if it's commercial, they'll bring all the air handlers in because there's no furnaces in closets or anything like that. A lot of times they can do them afterwards. But if it's something where it's going to get covered up with drywall up in an attic, then they got to put all that stuff in first. So they're not like smashing into drywall and they don't have any way to get it up there. So then, they put the furnace in, they sit and rewire all of them, and then they turn everything on, test it all, get the air moving, fill the air compressor with Freon and get Freon lines, good, everything's insulated. But there's just not as much work to do. So the reason for the hatred is because most of the time the electricians are there the entire time. And the plumbers and the HVAC guys usually come in and they're just like, screw your stuff, buddy. I'm over here. This is my job now. And it's like, bro, I've been here for months. And a lot of time what happens from the electrician standpoint is that a lot of plumbers will just cut through our wires. They just don't care. They're going to put their pipe in wherever they want it to go. And instead of just coming up to the electrician and being like, hey, bro, you got a wire. Can you move this and reroute it so I can put this in? A lot of them just don't say anything. Some of them do. There are some like killer companies out there that are really cool to work with. And that's what I love about big custom homes is most of the time somebody's paying $20 million for a house. You're gonna have contractors that are all cool as hell. They're all craftsmen. They all really care about what they do. They're gonna take time. They're gonna talk to each one of the trades. You guys are gonna be smoking cigarettes and eating your sandwiches together. Like it's a different kind of vibe. It's not like, let's throw 15 people in and try to wire a house in a day. That's a whole different vibe. Usually people don't care. There's one good person and everybody else are barely electricians. They're barely apprentices, maybe not even apprentices. And they just fly by night trying to whip stuff together as fast as they can. So in situations like that, specifically, a lot of the cheaper homes, smaller homes, things like that are just thrown together, cheapest materials possible, not really a whole lot of precision and craftsmanship, and they just don't care. They're coming in, they're getting either paid by the house or they're getting paid by the unit of thing that they're doing, and they're just trying to go and shit and get, like we say down here in Texas. So it's speed. They don't care. And they're not paid enough to care, so they'll just cut your stuff. They'll take your ceiling can, and they're like, you know what? I want my duct there, or I want my vent to be right there, so screw your can. Boom, and they'll just break the can. They just don't care. Instead of trying to take the screw out, like I always do with their stuff, if their vent's in the way, and I've got a can layout, and the only way the can layout will go is where they put their duct, I'm taking that thing out, and I'm gonna move it over 12 inches or whatever, because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where their one thing goes in the room. People are gonna complain about cans not lining up because they have to line up. So again, there's a lot of I've seen people take the tops of recessed cans and just cut them off so that they can smash a duct right on top of it, or build a huge air conditioning plenum, and so it'll sit on top of that. Instead of just being like, hey, Mr. Builder, just gonna let you know, this can's in the way, so we're gonna take the can out for now, gently, respectfully. We're gonna care about them so that they don't come behind and start cutting through all of our plenum and our ducts and just screwing us over, because we won't know that until we put the unit in. It's stupid. I don't think about this kind of stuff. But instead of just calling the builder and being like, hey, dude, this can's in the way. What should I do? And then they'll call me and be like, hey, what are you going to do about this? I'll just say, hey, tell them to take it out. Doesn't matter. I'll bring a shallow recess can, put it in its place. Easy solution, right? Easy thing to fix. Nah, dude, they cut through wires all the time. They break stuff. They just don't care. And the other reason that a lot of us don't like working with each other, our stuff you just sweep up, right? Like we drill holes through wood. So we got like wood chips kind of laying all over the place. Plumbers, same thing. A lot of the time they're drilling, just boring a hole through stud after stud after stud. So it's just like sweeping up messes. But what plumbers do that piss us off the most is they will bring all of their 50-gallon buckets of couplings and connectors, and they will just dump them out into a room. So you just got fittings everywhere. I can't walk anywhere. I can't wire anything. Nobody else can either. It's just disrespectful. But I get it too, because they don't want to have to dig through. They've got so many fittings, and their fittings are all huge. Our stuff's small, right? Like I can go to my truck and like have all of my fittings and staples and wire nuts and stuff like neatly in my truck. They can't. They got pipes on top of their trucks, like tons of PVC everywhere. They're always bringing all this PVC and just throwing it everywhere. They cut it, just leave it. Now again, I'm not saying, Roger, I know you're watching this. I'm not saying every plumber does this. It's just that a lot of them do. And I'm sure there's things that they hate about us. We leave wire everywhere. We don't sweep up after our wood chip mess. We will take up an entire chase with an electrical panel, or we'll bring all of our home runs down and do all of this stuff, and it was right where their plumbing needed to go, but we didn't know that that was where it was going to go. So there's a lot of times there's not really like conversations that happen within the trades. And in residential, there's not really plans that are solid for anything. Like residential, a lot of it's editable, the way things are framed. They're not engineered like electrical drawings. Some of the electrical might be done, but they're not writing where circuits go and how many things go on a circuit. Half the time it's architects that are putting together plans for how residential fixtures and lighting and all that stuff goes. It's not actually engineers that are doing it. Whereas in commercial, you have engineered drawings, and whatever they say, every device shows a line that is wired, and it's all calculated. There's load calculations. It's this whole thing. They spend a lot of time engineering it, so you don't change anything. You do exactly what is on that plan. Residential's not like that. Residential doesn't show like, hey, there's a plumbing pipe that has to go down this chase. No, it's on the plumber to figure that out. It says there's a toilet going right here. You do whatever you got to do to get your pipes to it, however you got to do it. So it's not like I, as an electrician, can go through and look at the plumbing plan and be like, oh, I can't go here because I have to make room for their whatever. Same thing with HVAC stuff. I can't look at an HVAC plan and know where they're going to put a plenum and know where they're going to route all of their ductwork and all of that. And the other thing too, HVAC guys that I hate, is they don't run their stuff neatly. It's like they just take up an entire attic so the attic can't be used for anything by anyone ever again. There's no like neat cleanliness to try to get things, like tight and pushed out of the way. It's like, let's go as fast as we can and just throw shit everywhere and like hope that it works. Now, I'm sure there are some plans out there and reasons why they do certain things, but it's just kind of like we're all three of us as a trades, and I'm not just saying electricians are like good and shiny and we're like not a part of this whole thing. There's tons of stuff that we do that pisses other people off. Some people cut through pipes on accident. Some people like I had a pickaxe one time when I was an apprentice. I was picking in the dirt. And somebody even told me, the journeyman was like, hey, you gotta be careful, there's a water line down there. I'm like, yeah, all right. And me, Mr. like zealot, is just swinging, being so proud that I'm just like dripping in sweat, cut my fingers up, I'm bloody, and I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm like working really hard, and everybody respects me for it. And then I go, pink, and I hit this PVC pipe, and it was pressurized, and that shit went, and I freaked out because I didn't know, how do you make the water not do that anymore? Like, how do you stop it? None of us knew where to shut it off, where the shut-off valve was. We know it's typically kind of like by the front part of the driveway-ish. But sometimes you got some big properties with like rock features and crazy landscape, and so you have no clue where any of it is. You're calling builders, you're calling homeowners, trying to figure out, calling the plumber if you knew. You're like trying to figure out this solution, but So in situations like that, the plumber's gonna get a call and be like, hey, electrician, hit your pipe. And they're gonna be like, God damn, these electricians, I hate electricians. So you know what I mean? We kind of like screw up each other's environment a lot. And the Pookie on the ladder thing. As I sit here and talk, I think of more and more. There's something about AC guys that just don't give a shit whose ladders are whose, and they just take people's ladders. Doesn't matter if it's theirs or not. And maybe it's got to just be the companies in our area. There's a couple companies that are like really big companies, but because they're such a big shop, there's so much less accountability. It's just people out doing whatever they're gonna do, because there's not like 4 crews for a boss to go around and check all 4 jobs every day and to keep on top of everything. They're such big companies, and it just doesn't matter. So they will just literally, if they just see ladders sitting around, they're gonna go grab somebody's ladder and start using it. It would be fine if they were like, yo, electrician, you mind if I use your 8-footer? I'd be like, yeah, dude, I got you, no worries. Don't get your fucking Pookie all over my ladder though. And they do. When I say Pookie, I'm talking about this compound that they use, the HVAC guys use. So when they put their duct in, it kind of like cements a duct to another duct. It's like a glue stuff. I don't know if they like swim in this shit or if they like take baths in it and they're like showering with Pookie all over themselves. But they get it on everything, on every ladder. So like my ladder forever will look like a ball of shit now with Pookie all over it, sloppy. Plumbers do the same thing with their like bluish, purplish primer. You know, they'll spill primer all over everything, all over your ladder, because you don't ask. I would never, ever just go grab somebody's ladder, go grab somebody's drill, go grab anything that's not mine without asking somebody. And then if I'm using somebody's stuff and I spill shit all over it, chemical compounds, whatever, the first thing I'm gonna do is go grab it, bring it out, find a hose, rinse it off, and be like, yo, bro, I spilled a bunch of stuff on your thing, but like, you were cool enough to let me use this because I asked first. Thank you. I cleaned it up. I got you. You know what I mean? Like, just some common decency, some common courtesy between people. It's just usually the faster jobs don't go like that. A lot of the commercial jobs don't go like that either. It seems to be where there are craftsmen that really take pride in what they do on a very upscale, highfalutin kind of environment is where you see this is not so much of a problem. Everybody watches out for each other's stuff. Everybody respects each other, takes care of each other. So on jobs like that, none of these problems are an issue. I'll even have framers be like, yo, you want me to reframe the entire ceiling and make sure that your can layout works? I got you, man. Just come get me. You know, like it's a way cooler kind of a thing. So, and I think there's a pay thing too. Like we all 3 think that we get paid more than the other. Plumbers think they make more than electricians. Electricians think they make more than plumbers. HVAC people, I don't even know if they make money. Their stuff's expensive. You know, like a furnace might be $7,000, or like a mini split system with 2 different inside units and an outside unit might be like $7,000. So it's like the numbers are like, whoa, you didn't do a whole lot of stuff. You put a couple of big things in here and some ducting in between it. Why is it so expensive? You know, so the appearance of AC guys making a whole bunch of money is definitely there. It's just that stuff also costs a lot of money. So I don't know how much, like how to even equate what they make. But like, yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a pissing contest, right? Like when you're really good at your craft and somebody else is really good at your craft, there's almost this like, well, I'm better than you, or my trade's better than your trade. Roger and I have done videos. I will say all day long electricians are better than plumbers, and there's no way I'm gonna be digging around in toilets and septic tanks and floating turds and all. I don't want nothing to do with that. He loves it. He's like, oh, I'm happier than a pig in shit, you know? He loves the dirty aspect of it, and he takes a lot of pride in it, and he's good at what he does, and so like I don't disrespect it. At the end of the day, here's the thing. I respect everybody who is in the trades, who works with their hands, who builds and constructs things. Like, I have the most respect out of anybody else in the world for these people. It's a different kind of people. We have a very similar kind of struggle. We have a similar, you know, like a lot of electricians will get done, they'll go drink a beer and like kick their feet up and just watch TV. They're so tired, exhausted, Texas heat, 110 degrees, and they're out there like swinging a pickaxe or a rock bar all day. Plumbers are doing the same thing. They're gonna have a mini X, you know, or like they're gonna be digging, they're gonna be doing stuff, they're gonna be sweating. We kind of like struggle the same struggle. They're gonna go home, drink a beer, kick their feet up. AC guys, I don't know what they do. They put their purse on the counter. Just kidding, AC guys, I love you. But that's pretty much it. It's just that we're always in each other's way. So like when we're on a job, ducts in a ceiling go into vents, and a vent is usually where an electrical thing needs to go. So it's like we're in the way, and if there's a plumber in a bathroom, stay out of there. You're done for the day. Like you can't do anything in there because they're there all day long and they take the whole space. And I don't want to be the guy that comes in there and like sets a ladder over the top of the plumber as he's doing stuff to like work above him, you know what I mean? So like our stuff is always interfering with their stuff. Kitchens are kind of the craziest thing to wire. Like there's a lot of things going on in a kitchen. People update their kitchens to sell a house because they can get more money because the kitchen looks nicer. But bathrooms are the other area. Kitchens and bathrooms pretty much sell a house. And those are the two places where plumbers are always at. And this is where the most of my stuff goes. There's just so many home runs and complex stuff in kitchens. Not as much in bathrooms, but you know what I mean? Like we're just kind of always on top of each other. We'll have electricians working in the ceiling with plumbers working down below, and then AC guys up above, and we're just all like doing this crazy messy thing around each other. So we actually hate being on the jobs at the same time. I would much rather a plumber come in, do all their stuff, HVAC come in, do all their stuff, and then me come, and then I will finesse my way with the crazy ass amount of work that we all have to do for so long. I'll finesse around all that stuff. What I don't want is for them to come behind me and drag stuff across our wires, step on stuff, cut through stuff, because there's way more of my stuff everywhere than theirs. Since there's so much less of their stuff, it's easier for me to work around, and that's just my preference. Anyways, hope you got something out of this. Share this with your plumber buddy, your HVAC buddy, whatever. HVAC. I can't say HVAC guy because there's girls doing it too. You're just HVACers. ACers. I'm not even gonna give you the HV. I'm just gonna call you ACers. Yeah, share some with your buddies and leave some comments below on what. Don't leave hateful comments. Don't be like, oh, I hate plumbers because of this, and I can already see. I haven't even put this on the internet yet, and I can already see the comments. Try to give some love too. Like talk about what you like about these people. They're good people too. They really are. All right, mad respect. Love you, crazy people. Talk to you in the next one.